My friends, it is time for another radio review. This time, we are reviewing the Anytone 578 UV Pro. This is not just another dual band mobile radio. No. This one is a tri-band, count 'em, 3 bands with 2 meters, 440, and 220. Plus, it does DMR. We're going to talk about this radio today on K6UDA Radio. No secret, I have reviewed a whole ton of mobile radios, handheld radios, all kinds of radios over the years. I have not yet got my hands on a decent tri-band mobile radio, and it looks like this time I might have done that, and that's what I am excited about today. And you ask yourself, well, why are you so excited about this radio? What excites me about this Anytone 578 is the fact that it does have 5 watts on 220, which is kind of a big deal if there's 220 repeaters in your area, or if, say, in a prepping situation, you want a radio that is on a band that you can legally operate on that isn't, how shall we say, common. And if it's not common, that means most people, i.e. your adversaries, won't have access to it, won't be able to hear you on it, and that's a good thing. So it's kind of like your own little private Idaho, isn't it? Anyway, guys, let's go take a look at the Anytone 578. But before we do, I want to remind you guys, please hit the subscribe button, the bell notification right next to it. Be sure and check out my Patreon, my PayPal. Consider supporting the cause and supporting me. So let's get to it. When you first fire the radio up, you're going to be confronted with this screen here. You're going to go ahead and set your date and time and your GMT offset. You'll turn the channel selector knob to adjust the current setting. Press that knob again and it'll move you through all the different settings. Once you've adjusted everything down to the second, hit that menu button and the radio will reboot and go into its initial setting. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself, so let's back the bus up and start from the beginning. At first glance, the 578 shares a lot of common looks with some of the cheaper dual band radios like the Retivus, like some of the other Anytones and TYTs coming out of China. But that's where the similarity ends. The package I got was packed with a lot of cool little accessories, including a mounting bracket, USB connection cables for programming the radio, charging the Bluetooth PTT button, a remote GPS antenna, a mic hanger, and a bag of hardware. This is possibly one of the best microphones I have ever seen with a stock radio. The buttons have an incredibly positive feel, i.e. there's great tactile response from this thing. There are 7 programmable function buttons and you can control virtually everything on the radio from the hand mic. Plus there's also a speaker built into this, so it is a speaker mic. There's about 6.5 feet of red and black cable with a standard 2-prong plug. Just as the 878 came with a handy little PTT, so does the 578, but this one actually makes more sense in a mobile application. For those of you that want to beacon out your APRS signal, the 578 comes standard with a GPS antenna you could plug into the back. Now, although they say you can program the 578 through the front panel, I don't really recommend it. It's clumsy. It is hard to do, or a lot harder to do than a Yaesu, Kenwood, ICOM kind of a product. Now, the beautiful thing here is if you already own an Anytone 878 and you've got that one programmed already, you can export your code plug and import it into the 578 software and just go ahead and write it. This is the first dual system kind of a thing that I've seen in a DMR flavor, that you can actually just go from one radio to another radio and have it be about as plug and play as possible. Now, writing everything off to the radio was fairly straightforward. When I did it with a clean Windows copy, I didn't have any problems. Now, the first time you write your code plug to the radio, remember you're going to actually want to copy off a full contact list that gets the names and call signs of every ham that's on DMR back into your radio. That's going to take a few minutes. So grab yourself something to drink, sit back, and come back a little bit later. It'll be done writing soon enough. Once the radio's done writing, it's going to reboot itself, and when it comes up, just like magic, everything will be on just the way you programmed it. Now remember, I said all of these P buttons are fully configurable. I've got buttons to go from a single VFO to a dual VFO, like you see here. Another function that's important to me is the ability to switch modes from digital to analog on any given frequency that I want to operate. I have that programmed in too. The ability to turn on and off that GPS function can be very important, so I've actually programmed that onto one of my function buttons, as is being able to switch talk groups on the fly. When you're in that single VFO in DMR mode, the display is very, very readable, very nice. It gives you all that information about the other side of your call, and gives you the talk group that you're on, the call sign of the guy that you're talking to. Just works out very, very nicely. The 578 has 4 power levels: low, medium, high, and turbo. On turbo power, with a simplex 2-meter frequency, our power rating here is 38.3 watts, almost a perfect match on the antenna, but that doesn't matter right now because we've just lost 17 watts on full power. Switching the radio into low power on the same 2-meter simplex frequency, we're going to observe a marked difference. Normally, these low settings are a couple of watts. I'm measuring this one here at 0.75 watts. Perfect match, so there's nothing wrong with the antenna. Now switching the radio into mid-power or medium power, we get an output of just under 8 watts. Usually this is 10. And running the test on high power, again, we're going to fall short of that advertised 25 watts at just under 18 watts. Now, the fact that Bridgecom included a tri-band antenna with this was very, very cool because I don't have a tri-band antenna. Unfortunately, well, first of all, you'll notice that it is about the same size in height as my current CB antenna. What you won't notice is the fact that this one is a UHF mount antenna. I don't currently have any UHF mount stuff for my antennas, so I'm gonna have to order something from somewhere to possibly fit on the back of the Jeep here, or maybe run it off the bumper of my truck. I don't know. But in the meantime, 220 is kind of a no-go for me, because I'm not gonna get, you know, high SWR putting it out on a dual band antenna. The other issue that I have installing the 578 in my Jeep back here is the interior of the Jeep is pretty damn cramped. And the fact that my FTM 400 fits in here so well right there is because I've got a remote mounted head. The rest of the radio is under that seat. Now, I could put the 578 all the way up here on the dash like I had done in my TJ with the Retevis radio, but that's not ideal, and my wife really doesn't like it. And you know what? She owns half the Jeep. Okay, so now that brings us to the overall question. Is this a good radio? Is it worth the money? Well, first of all, let's get to the money. This radio retails MSRP for $399 plus $15 shipping at Bridgecom. Granted, you do get a lot of stuff. All the goodies are included with this. You get a great microphone, you get all the mounting hardware, all of that is included. And I'm hoping that tri-band antenna is included for $399. Not a cheap radio by any stretch of the imagination. Once it's up and running, great display. I like the display, very configurable. I like the way that all the program buttons are very configurable. The minuses that I see of this radio: the power output is not exactly what they advertise. While it is not bad, it's certainly not 50 watts at VHF. Having a remote mounted head is a game changer with me. In a small cockpit like my Jeep, having to keep that box all in one deal, it's kind of a deal breaker. I could mount it down beside my seat like I've got that little CB, but now it's hard to look at. I can't just look down and see it very easily. I'm gonna have to use another cable to remote mount a speaker, because that speaker is going to get buried between the seat and the center console. Now the body of the radio is solid. I have no complaints there. It looks like the cooling fins are going to take care of everything on the hottest of days, running that thing on high power. The microphone is top notch on that. Anytone, great job on the microphone. The fact that there are not a lot of tri-band radios out there right now makes this a huge plus if you want to get into that 220 section. Like I said before, not a lot of people have 220 or have the ability to transmit or even know about 220. So really, this kind of is a big bonus of a band, and to have a full 5 watts on it, pretty cool. I think the radio is a good radio. It's a little bit on the pricey side. Would I buy it at $399? I don't know. Given the fact that it doesn't have a removable head or a remote mounted head, it doesn't fit my particular needs as well as it could. Will I use this radio in the shack? Absolutely, because now I will be able to get on 220 as soon as I find a UHF connector for that antenna. All right, guys, that's all I've got today. If you liked the video, please give it the thumbs up and hit that subscribe button, the bell notification right next to it. Consider supporting me on Patreon or PayPal. There's an email address if you have an email question. I don't have anything else. We're still under lockdown out here in the People's Republic of California. I'm Bob, K6UDA, and I'm out of here. 7-3.